Changing the world over a cuppa. Well, that is the title of today's soft talk presentation. Welcome to the program. So you too want to change the world without changing a thing about yourself? If that's so, you and this commentator happen to be on the same page. It feels so great to know that this living thing is not alone in this vast universe. Feel at home. The world is, as they say, your oyster. By the way, what portion of the world population wants to change the world without changing themselves? This question cropped up on my mind after my thought-provoking meeting with one of the key figures of an industry that is extremely sensitive to geostrategic rather shocks. So this piece will present the gist of that important meeting with that important figure after trying to deal with the above mentioned with the question, what portion of the world population wants to change the world without changing themselves? With a little bit of help I'll take for this answering this question from the World Wide Web, of course. According to a cursory online search, though there is no exact data on the population segment, the portion of the population that wants to change the world without changing themselves, call them armchair activists or whatever. It is a widely recognized human tendency described often as a near universal sentiment. The observation, famously attributed to Leo Tolstoy, you know about him, I guess, the famous Russian novelist, the famous novelist who used to write in Russian, but he is world famous with such seminal works as War and Peace, Anna Karenina, etc. This Tolstoy quote goes something like, everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. Quite aptly put, isn't it? The desire for external change is high, while personal change is a no-no for most of us, as we see so commonly in our everyday lives, don't we? Reflecting a high desire for systemic change, a 2020 Ipsos survey for the World Economic Forum found something interesting. It found that 86% of adults across 27 countries would prefer the world to change significantly and become more sustainable and equitable rather than returning to the pre-COVID pandemic status quo. Worryingly, though, studies also point toward a low desire for personal change, with only about 19% of surveyed people able to maintain significant personal long-term behavior changes, and the motivation for such change obviously declining as you grow older, that is. This difference between the 85% desiring global change without changing a thing about themselves, of course, and the much smaller percentage actively changing their own behavior or sustaining that change highlights a large, though not precisely quantified, portion of the population that focuses on external change. Looking around us, if not within us, instead of introspecting, looking into us, instead of looking into us, we see that people often prioritize changing systems, governments, or other people rather than initiating introspection or personal transformation. People want the benefits of change, but they often fear the discomfort and the risk associated with personal growth and behavioral adaptation, according to psychologists. Barring a few, very few, in fact, successful people, most of us have blamed all other factors, such as luck, save ourselves, of course, for our failures, for our foibles, for our underperformance, haven't we? This whole too common tendency to focus on the cruel behavior of the world while neglecting to look at one's own behavior. This makes it easier to demand change from others without, of course, changing a thing about ourselves. Now, let me, a person perennially in search of career growth opportunities, touch upon an enlightening conversation that I had one sunny and beautiful January afternoon with the above mentioned figure at a great educational institution that happens to be my alma mater. This key figure, after probing into the nitty-gritty such as job experience and academic qualification rather, wanted to know whether I had political connections or not, whether I was politically well connected or not. The reply came with a straight bat. I have no political connection whatsoever. My job experience and academic qualifications, or lack thereof, are all that I have. After my reply, he spoke. This key figure spoke. What did he say then? Highlighting, he highlighted his inability with a bit of regret to make room for a new face, for that would mean harming the interest of some other members of the team. I read it as some well heeled figure that he didn't want to just cause discomfort to by just diminishing his role or something like that. A touch of Nepali hospitality, including a cup of steaming tea and the sweet sounding, "We should stay in touch. I will call you if and when a suitable opportunity comes my way," and an exhortation on policy lapses amid two other guys in a passionate conversation, in a passionate discussion on policy issues in the same chamber was the icing on the cake, I should say. Towards the end of this piece, while I was writing for this presentation, while I was writing, a piece for this presentation. A flash of thought came from Albert Einstein the Great, and he goes, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and experiencing different results. Einstein, of course, does not stop there. He was talking about Einstein's enlightening quotes. So let me continue with that. You too want to prove Einstein wrong? You too want to change the world in our very own time tested ways? This sapient wishes all the wonderful people, including that influential individual brimming with the best of intentions, all the very best. With this remark, I wrap up this edition of Soft Talk. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening.